Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Savannah, and it is a beautiful morning on this small little homestead. I was convicted this morning of just being content and taking on my role as a mother of 6, even in all of the mundane that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, being content. And I have come to understand after much struggle that I will spend the better part of my life adjusting my expectations to life's limitations rather than having my expectations fulfilled. We have been homeschooling our children since the start, and the only way to make it in this homeschooling life is to reach for God instead of reaching for happiness. When I started homeschooling my oldest, I had this idea that our home was going to be quiet and orderly and focused on all of our work until it was done, and our reality is a lot different. We are almost 6 years into this journey, and more babies have continued to come. So the whole everyone doing school at the same time in a quiet house thing will not happen. Maybe in another 6 or 7 years at least. But between pregnancy, sickness, newborns, and teething toddlers, which I'm going through right now, our mornings have yet to maintain a consistent schedule or starting time. I'm starting to be okay with that and actually embracing it, because unlike what I told myself for years, this inability to stick to my strict schedule isn't because I'm failing. It's because life is happening with our school. Being content is a truth to believe. It is learned by accepting life each day as God gives it to you and adjusting your expectations to life's limitations and circumstances. I am convinced that God has built into the mother-child relationship much of the same dynamic that we see in the relationship of Jesus with his disciples. By God's design, our children are meant to be with us. And this is one of the reasons why my husband and I felt called to homeschool from the beginning. All of the elements for a deep personal relationship are already in place. So when you accept that design and channel your heart into this personal relationship with your child, you take the first and most important step toward turning your child into a disciple or shaping their heart for a relationship. If they learn the patterns of relationship from you, it will be an easier step for them to relate to Jesus. When the writer of Proverbs 24:3 says, "The wise woman builds her house," he doesn't mean that she was hauling timbers or stacking mud bricks. He is saying that the wise woman builds her family. She uses timbers of wisdom. She uses bricks of understanding, and she uses the mortar of knowledge. She is careful to use the best building materials, one that will keep her family standing strong generation after generation. And no matter what physical house they may be living in, it is the spiritual house of a godly family that the wise woman labors hard to build. This day was so long and hard in many ways, but also beautiful And there were so many things that we came together through, and so many things that I did wrong. But one of my favorite quotes by Charlotte Mason is that it's not how much the child knows, but how much the child cares about what they know. And one thing I know is that my children love to help me in the kitchen, and they were all off doing their own thing at this time. But I was gonna whip up some dessert for us, and this is our favorite sourdough chocolate chip cookie recipe. The thing I love most about these sourdough chocolate chip cookies are that you store them in the freezer. So after I make them, I always do a double batch. We roll them out and we put them in a plastic bag and freeze them. So I will leave the recipe to these below.